What do you see in this picture? Say it loud. Thank you. We all think categorically. You give me a category, human. What other category can you think about? I heard children. I heard small kids, big kids. When we were born, we start thinking, we were taught to think categorically. Big or small, boys and girls, these are the key categories we use in our life. One of the most commonly used category is perhaps gender binary. Men versus women, female versus male, boys versus girl. We use it so often that even built in our language. In English, very simple. I married an American man, lovely man, and as a Chinese woman, I have to relearn all these gendered pronouns. It was not easy. I remember one time I went out with my girlfriend for dinner, came back and talked to my husband, said that he said I look beautiful. Who? My husband almost had a heart attack because I didn't say she, instead I said he. That was confusing to him. But in European language, gender binary is even more pronounced. If you look at this chart, wine, coffee, and cocoa are supposed to be named as masculine, whereas justice, freedom, communication are feminine. Why? When I asked my European friends, one of them said, I never thought about it. What about in Asia? Some of the Asian languages do not have gendered pronouns, like in Chinese, the language that I'm best with. But we do write with gendered pronouns. In other Oriental language, there's really none, no gender pronouns at all. For example, Japanese. But yet, in all Asian society, I would say most of the Asian societies, we have a very heavy, strong belief in gender role divide. That is, men play certain role, women play certain role in the society. If you ask an average Japanese man, they would probably say men's place is at work and women's place is at home, or specifically in the kitchen. And when you ask them, why? Probably they smile at you and say, that's the way it is for many years, for millennia. Now, gender binary concept has built in our thinking system for centuries across different cultures. And when we start using it without thinking about why, that means that it has already part of our automated thinking system. It's part of our mental programming. And whatever we see some stimulus, this mental programming just trigger and we use it automatically. So in our mind, that is a default setting telling us that men is that way and women are the other way. So how can we really change, how can we change it? It is so powerful in determining how we perceive the world. And also so powerful how we see many abstract concepts. For example, leadership. As a professor, I always did experiments. I did 2 experiments. Over 3 years' time, I asked my MBA students as well as my undergraduate students to draw an image of a leader. I assigned this task to them before they had my leadership class. Guess the result? 85% of them gave me a male or male-like image. And some gave me an object. Only 5% of them gave me a female or female-like image. Again, why? Another experiment, not really consciously an experiment, I just want to give students a choice. I work very closely with student leaders, student representative. And I asked 2 students, one female representative, one male representative. I asked them, there are 2 roles to play for this student committee. One is the chairman's role and the other is the secretary role. Which one do you want to pick? As you could imagine, the male student picked the chairman role and the female student picked the secretary role. They did that voluntarily. They did that willingly, without negotiating with each other. But if you ask me, which role is more important in running student committee, I would say the secretary. Without the secretary organizing all the events, all the schedules, doing all the follow-up, the committee would not have any success. Talking about what to do is easy. Actually doing it is challenging. So again, why? To answer this why, we should understand that our mindset is all a product of our society, our family, our parents, in short, our upbringings. We develop unconscious bias over the years. If members in the society consistently pass along the message that men should do that, women should do other things, we inherit this type of bias in our system, and we apply it without thinking about it. So at work, we often, given the message that the leader of a committee is a chairman, not a chairwoman. And when we talk about boss is a man. To distinguish a woman boss versus, a boss, we add the word lady in front of the word boss. So we have lady boss or boss lady. But we seldom say man boss or boss man. Why not? So now, in this type of environment, how could we convince women that they could take up leadership role if they feel they are capable to? Because subconsciously, they feel that they are stepping into a man's shoes. This is a psychological barrier we have built into the mind of females, and even females themselves are not aware of that. I give you some statistics. Harvard University has a big project, global project, on implicit biases. And as you see in the chart, they did a long-term survey. Within 2005 and 2015, they surveyed over 800,000 people. And of those 800,000 people, 75%, 3/4 of them, had automatic gender biases. They automatically associate male for career and female for family. Of them, 19% had slight automatic association. 32 of them have moderate automatic association, and 24%, a quarter of those 800,000 people have very strong automatic association. And these numbers, these respondents comprise both men and women. These are the facts, empirical studies, to tell you that we do have automatic association of men's role versus women's role. We all are gender biased. This type of gender bias has clouded us from seeing merits, preventing us from developing merit-based decisions. I give you one example. Some of you may feel you can relate to it. My late grandmother, who was probably one of the few people, or very few people, who could do mental math. You could not cheat her. Nobody can. And not only that, she was kind, smart, and hardworking. All the good attributes you can see from a grandmother. But she did not have a chance to go to school, simply because she was a female. And exactly because she was so smart and hardworking, my great-grandpa decided that she's better stay home and work in the farm And at the same time, the boys went to school. And all her life, she was illiterate. She had to depend on other people to do a lot of important things for her. Now, you may say this is the old day thing, all right? So what about today? Today, we are very open, you know? We select women, we see women leaders, but actually really not. Think about the 2 experiments that I told you. In today's time, our young generation, students, they still have this unconscious bias. So what can we do? To give you more empirical studies, actually, you know, gender biases really had no scientific basis. I just finished one of the studies that I co-authored with several international scholars. And we found out that men are no longer majority masculine, and women are no longer majority feminine. And instead, 30% of men in my international sample, business sample, they are what we name psychological and androgynous. And also 30% of women in our business sample are psychologically androgynous as well. What does it mean? That means that these group of people possess both male-like and female-like characteristics. They are both driven, strategic, and disciplined. And at the same time, they are caring, warm, and communicative. If men and women share so many characteristics like each other, why don't we see more women leaders? What prevents women from advancing? The conclusion we have as the authors and researchers, we identify that the onus is on the decision maker. The decision maker that decide who are on the pipeline of the leadership in the organization. Previously, for decades, we focused on women empowerment. We encouraged the women, say, you have to speak up, you have to learn, you have to study. You have to do more things to, you know, get your rights, get advanced. But now it is time we have to shift our focus to get the decision maker to remove their subconscious bias and to consciously recognize that there are lens built into their subconscious mind, to consciously remind themselves of their inherent biases, to consciously promote talented women. We have some time urgency to do so. According to the Global Gender Gap Report, if we do not do additional things, it would take 130 years to reach gender parity. So if you look at the chart, we did close some gaps, like in the area of health and survival, in the area of education attainment. But if you go down to the left hand, to this side, economic participation as well as political empowerment, the gap is still huge. And especially in the area of political empowerment, if we really do not do much about it, the majority men in this area continue to make decisions on behalf of the women. So certainly we need to accelerate women in the leadership. How? If we do not do anything, gender parity will never happen in my or your lifetime. So we need the governments, business leader, you and me, together to do something, maybe small steps. What can we do to explicitly assist women to excel and break the biases? The world has been bound by gender binary concept for millennia. We have inherited the gender binary misconcept and use it in our language without questioning its correctness. We can do something. The first thing that we can do is to really focus on the gendered words, the gendered nouns, especially the work roles. For example, we just get rid of the chairman policemen, firemen, and fishermen. Use other words, gender neutral word. Chairperson, police officer, firefighter, and fishers. It may sound a little awkward for fishers, but yes, we are using it. More and more people are adapting this role because we see that, you can have women to be a fisherman. Call them fishers. Let's stop using these gender words and educate our future generations and tell them that regardless of their biological sex, they can do anything, everything they are capable of. There is no gender boundary. I sincerely wish my nieces and nephews will be able to do whatever they aspire to achieve. Thank you.